Democrats were unsure about Republican seriousness about including meaningful border security provisions in the National Security Supplemental. Yesterday's vote made it crystal clear. Every single Senate Republican rejected Democrats' collective attempt to bury their heads in the sand and pretend that what's happening at our southern border isn't a threat to our security. Border security is national security, which is why any national security supplemental that moves through this chamber must tackle this crisis head on. Mr. President, on Tuesday, FBI Director Christopher Wray testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee and told members, and I quote, "I've never seen a time when all the threats, or so many of the threats, are all elevated, all at exactly the same time," end quote. Senator Graham then asked Director Wray to comment on the threat environment using the blinking red lights analogy often used about warnings before the September 11 attacks. And Director Wray responded, and I quote, "I see blinking lights everywhere I turn. I see blinking lights everywhere I turn." Mr. President, it is against the background of this threat environment that Republicans are asking Democrats to finally, and I say finally, help secure our border. We have endured 3 now record-breaking years of illegal immigration at our southern border under President Biden, and the situation is only getting worse. Today saw a staggering 12,000 Tuesday, I should say, saw a staggering 12,000 migrant encounters at our southern border. 12,000 in just one day. That's 8 people per minute. And that follows 2 days of 10,000 plus encounters. Now, I'm not sure how anyone can look at these numbers and not think this is a crisis. Plus, those numbers don't count any gotaways, and those are individuals the Border Patrol saw but was unable to apprehend, who may have made their way across the border during that same period. The month of October saw an average of roughly 1,000 gotaways per day. That's roughly 30,000 unknown individuals who made their way into our country. 30,000. In just 1 month. All told, there have been more than 1.7 million known gotaways on President Biden's watch, not to mention an unknown number of unknown gotaways. And these gotaways are not the migrants who are showing up hoping to be apprehended because they know they can game the asylum or parole system. No, these are individuals bent on avoiding detection, which should concern us deeply. Anyone who doesn't think bad actors are attempting to exploit the situation at our southern border needs to think again. During fiscal year 2023, the Border Patrol apprehended 169 individuals on the terrorist watch list attempting to make their way across our southern border into our country. That number, by the way, is more than the total of the previous 6 fiscal years combined. FBI Director Wray noted at that same Judiciary Committee hearing that since the Hamas attack on Israel on October the 7th, the threat level has gone to, and I quote, "a whole other level," end quote. Abroad, American troops have been attacked nearly 80 times since October the 7th. And it is naive to think that there aren't terrorists out there currently trying to make their way into the United States to attack our country. And why wouldn't any terrorist trying to enter our country take advantage of the chaos at our southern border? And you don't have to take my word for it. The Department of Homeland Security, in its threat assessment released in September, noted the risks that, and I quote, "terrorist and criminal actors may exploit the elevated flow of migration and increasingly complex security environment to enter the United States, end quote. And that assessment, Mr. President, was written before the October 7th attack, or the many attacks on U.S. troops abroad that followed it. If there was a risk before, I think it's safe to say that there is an even greater risk now. Mr. President, this situation cannot continue. The massive flood of illegal immigration at our southern border has to stop. And that is why the National Security Supplemental must contain real measures to secure the border. Not cosmetic fixes, not superficial tweaks, real border security measures. I believe it is in our national security interest to support allies like Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine. But we cannot support American interests abroad while continuing to sacrifice the security of the American people here at home.